The Minnesota Timberwolves just came off arguably their best season in 2 decades, and they're looking to build on that, but not with multiple blockbuster signings or a squad overhaul. Nah, the Wolves are doing it in a way that makes them the most intelligent team in the entire league. What do we mean by that? Stay with us in this video to find out. Coming into the 2024-25 season, a number of NBA franchises looked like they mean serious business. The Spurs brought in some decent veteran options like Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes to supplement their young team. OKC's roster is looking more trimmed and still very efficient, with the likes of Isaiah Hartenstein and Alex Caruso coming in to replace Gordon Hayward, Keontae Johnson, Josh Giddey, and a number of other deadwood. And let's not forget last season's finalists, Boston Celtics and Dallas Mavericks, who have both strengthened their rosters by re-signing key players on long bumper contracts and the addition of veteran ability like Klay Thompson to the Mavs. However, the one team that seems to have done the most intelligent analysis and breakdowns before swinging into off-season action is the Minnesota Timberwolves. Last season, the Wolves got to only their second ever conference finals, and although they lost to the Mavericks, there were a lot of positives to take from it. Anthony Edwards put up one hell of an all-star season, averaging 25.9 points, 5.1 assists, and 5.4 rebounds in the regular season, and they turned up repeatedly during clutch moments. Ant-Man has a season in which only a couple of players in the league could do better than, and in achieving this, he had help from fellow All-Star Karl Anthony Towns, who provided steady scoring, rebounding, and leadership throughout the season. And let's not forget D-Boy Rudy Gobert and the younger dudes like Jaden McDaniels and Naz Reid, who stepped up every time the team needed them. The 2023-24 Timberwolves were really that team. But to keep it a buck with you, there were certain issues that needed to be addressed, which played a part in them nearly getting swept by Dallas in the conference finals. For one, we saw again and again how the Wolves struggled to close out games and suffered a lot of defensive lapses, which always got punished, particularly during the playoffs. There was also the issue of key players like Karl Anthony Towns missing a considerable number of games due to injury, which messed up team chemistry and consistency during the regular season. The Wolves went into the offseason looking to address all these issues and build on the newly found momentum. And now, with the new season almost here, it appears those issues have been sorted, and that's largely thanks to what was probably the most talked about deal of the entire offseason. Okay, we're not going to be insensitive to the sentiments of Minnesota fans. Losing Karl Anthony Towns, who spent the better part of a decade being the only consistent shining light during some really dark years, probably still hurts. But his last act of service to the Wolves, which is his involvement in the swap deal that brought DiVincenzo, could prove to be one of the best things he ever did for the city. That swap deal saw Cat and a second-round draft pick go to the New York Knicks, while the Wolves got Donte DiVincenzo, Julius Randle, Keita Bates-Diop, and a protected first-rounder from Detroit via New York. And before you go, oh, none of these guys are as good as Karl Anthony Towns, the combined benefit of just DiVincenzo and Randle is enough to see this deal as a win. First, there's the obvious part of the deal being a financial win for Minnesota, as it cut down a significant, huge wage bill going into the new season. Letting Cat go means the Wolves have traded Towns' hefty 4-year, $220 million contract for the 2 years and $59 million that Julius Randle has left, and the average salary of $12 million per season over the next 3 years on DiVincenzo's contract. With the new CBA restrictions, the Timberwolves front office had a lot on their hands in determining the easiest way to balance the books. Sure, they could have made many cutdowns to the management payroll, but letting Anthony Towns go solved the entire issue in just one move. The financial aspect is one explanation Minnesota's management could use to soothe the disappointed fans. But when you look beyond the surface, the deal brings a whole lot more than that. DiVincenzo, for one, is a shooting guard who has what it takes to make life easier for starting point guard Mike Conley. With his impressive playmaking skills, can rain as many three-pointers as anyone could ask for. And there's more. One of the best things about a team like Minnesota getting a player like DiVincenzo is the remarkable versatility he brings to the team. He's one of the few players in the league who is as quick a decision maker as he is efficient in defense, while also contributing highly to play off the ball by pushing the pace of the entire team. This trait is something DDV has had the time to develop over the past few years, playing different roles for the Knicks, the Warriors, and the Bucks. Being on the roster of two of the most accomplished teams and getting to work with some of the best players of this era definitely has its pros, and Donte DiVincenzo is living proof. As we saw last season, Donte is one of the few young guys in the league who contribute so much to teamwork and the squad dynamic. While he has shown repeatedly how he can step up as a leader, he can read the room and knows when to defer, so he's not bruising anyone's ego. If you've seen any of the Wolves' preseason games, you'd have noticed how this attribute hasn't taken long to reflect since DDV joined the Wolves. There have been instances of him sharing some courtside tips with Rob Dillingham. And while on the floor, his calmness looks to be a good match when playing with the more raw ballers like Anthony Edwards and Naz Reid. The Timberwolves would be banking on those two guys to develop even better in the next couple of years if they're ever going to become true championship contenders. And the truth is, the addition of DiVincenzo and Randle buys them all the time they need while those two guys grow into becoming elite. Speaking of Randle, he's been in the league long enough for you to know what exactly it is the Wolves are getting. There are definitely doubts as regards to his fitness and the fact that his contract gives him the option to leave Minnesota after the 2025 season. But those are issues yet to unfold. For now, the Timberwolves have gotten a high-scoring center with vast experience who is coming off 2 All-Star seasons in the last 4 years. Whether just for his inside presence or to be a game-changer as a starter, getting Julius Randle seems like yet another benefit of the Timberwolves' blockbuster swap deal, even if he was not the main aim of the deal. Another detail the Wolves seem to have somehow kept the Knicks from realizing is that despite Karl Anthony Towns and Edwards being the star men of the team, we've seen the Wolves play well without the former. Take last season, for example. When Cat had his meniscus injury, Naz Reid stepped up during this period, averaging 16.5 points, about 6 rebounds, and 2 assists, as the Wolves lost only 5 out of 17 games. Now that doesn't mean they're a better team without Towns, nah. But at the same time, he was outserved as a form of a test run to see how the rest of the team would cope. And if you ask us, 12 wins out of 17 at the tail end of the season is at least an A-. Playing without Cat 4 years ago might have been unthinkable for Minnesota fans. But now, with the addition of the likes of DiVincenzo and Randle and the development of Naz Reid, they definitely don't look like a weaker team. Just like the president of the Timberwolves organization, Tim Connolly, admitted, it might not be a quick fix. You don't see many teams shuffle their starting lineup after their best season in 2 decades, particularly not in today's Western Conference, where at least 4 teams can be considered title contenders. However, the extent to which the pros of the Minnesota Timberwolves-New York Knicks swap deal outweigh the cons is not something you see every time, if ever, from a blockbuster trade. It's almost like a perfect deal that has made the Timberwolves front office look like the most intelligent team in the entire league. They very well might be, seeing as they've gotten the best deal of the entire offseason. In Connolly's words, you make your trade after advancing to the Western Conference Finals. It's not done lightly. These guys come from winning environments, so they appreciate what it looks like in the playoffs. They appreciate no skipping steps. They've got Anthony Edwards, who needs no introduction. They've got 4-time, including the latest, Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert. They've got one of the most promising young players in the league, Naz Reid. They've got the ever-dependable Mike Conley, and now Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle. We're not saying they're the favorites to lead the Western Conference, but if it turns out to be so, remember, you heard it here first. If you've enjoyed this video on how the Minnesota Timberwolves are the most intelligent team in the NBA, make sure you like, comment, and enjoy our other videos.